Say yes to life through your inner guidance. Learn how through the wisdom of Gene Key 29 and Sabian Symbols Leo 26 through Virgo 1. Welcome to the Free to Be Free portal. I'm Julia Ananda, your host, and I'm so happy to be here with Margaret Miller, who's going to bring her insights to this beautiful energy.
Hi, Julia. So nice to be here with you. And I love this continuing exploration of the gene keys and the Sabian symbols. Just a brief reminder that the Sabian symbols are uh, word pictures that describe each of the 360 degrees of the zodiac. And so each week we're looking at 5 or 6 degrees of the zodiac as the sun is moving through a particular gene key. And then we're utilizing the information of both of those and weaving together a little energetic insight, hopefully. Hopefully, that's the intention. And so just starting with this, Gene Key 29 moves from the shadow of half-heartedness to the Siddhi of devotion, and it's the pathway of commitment. And so just to begin, the Gene Keys language, each of the words for each of the gene keys was chosen very specifically and very carefully by Richard Rudd, and they don't necessarily mean the same thing that you might think they mean. Like there's a depth to these interpretations that is really quite profound and beautiful, and this particular gene key is no exception. And so, but half-heartedness, the shadow of half-heartedness, you can kind of feel that. It's like you can tell that that's not fully committed. And because only half of your heart is in it, right? And so this shows up in our lives in various ways. One of those ways is through over commitment, like over obligating oneself, right? And this is I think it's a popular way to go is to make these commitments and say yes to a lot of things, but then somewhere down the line find that we don't have the energy to follow through with, something that felt exciting or felt we couldn't say no to because of for whatever reason, social pressure or whatever it is, and we end up letting it go or letting it fail, or maybe not even beginning something in the first place because we just said yes to too many things and just can't end up showing up for it. And the other way that we sometimes go with this is to not to be so non-committal that we appear unreliable, right? So not having so afraid of saying yes or making a commitment to something because of a fear of losing our freedom or whatever it is, because this obviously is a gene key that's very associated with relationships, right? Half-heartedness, commitment, devotion, that you would see how it's about relationship as well. And so us coming, not having a fear of commitment would show up as not not being non-committal, not being able to make that decision, and then so showing up as sort of you can't count on them because they're not willing to make a commitment to anything, right? And so this shadow, though, is like all of the shadows, it's talking about the our choices and the choices that we make in every moment, and this one in particular, because when we move into the energy of commitment, uh, there is always a choice, right? We have a choice most of the time to say yes or no to something and to commit ourselves fully to it or not. And and the choice always involves fear or love. If we, this is something that I am getting shown over and over again as we do these videos, as we looked at all of the different gene keys so far. It's like there's always this choice between, am I going to operate at the shadow frequency, which is the fear frequency, or am I going to operate at the gift frequency, which is the love frequency? And so, and that's where, when we move into that gift frequency, when we shift it into that gift frequency, then we are choosing love. And commitment in this sense it's different than obligation. Commitment is us saying with our whole heart, right? With our whole energy in this moment, in the present moment, yes to whatever it is. We're saying yes to something, and the commitment will stay strong as long as that heart energy is present and aligned in the present moment. It doesn't look at anything out there in the future. It really doesn't care about the goal per se, like an ending or a particular outcome. It's committed to the process and committed to the completion of that process. And it's, like I said, it's different from obligation because obviously we have obligations, and we need to show up for those, otherwise things go badly, right? But if we are also committed to our obligations, then those obligations that have now become commitments flourish and will flower. If it's just an obligation and there's no heart involved in it, then it degenerates really quickly into half-heartedness and will end up not working out very well, right? Our obligations, where we're just kind of dragging ourselves along, this ends up in the life half lived, right? This is, we see that with people in jobs or in relationships where their heart's not in it, where they're not wholehearted, right? They're half-hearted about it, and that there's this stream of regret and remorse and the feeling of missing out on life, right? But as we move farther and farther into the gift frequency, where we are committed, where we're committed to what our heart is telling us, and that's what you said at the beginning, like the following our inner guidance, what is our heart saying yes to? What is our whole being saying yes to, right? As we do that, we find that life and the universe starts to provide more and more opportunities and more guidance and more just optimism towards whatever that whatever that commitment is about. And the ultimate result of that might be something totally different than you thought when you started out, but it is something beautiful. It will always end in something much more beautiful. And it's just the commitment is following it through to the end. And there was a quote that I really liked from the book, and it just said, true commitment, this is from Richard Rudd, true commitment is an energetic dynamic felt within your whole being rather than a social requirement. Okay, and so that to me also reminds me to recommit, to check my commitments, to look at my obligations and make sure that I'm committed to my obligations, And if I'm not, to to be curious and to ask the questions, right? Like, is this something? Is this really an obligation? Do I? Is there? Is it something that I need to let go of? Is there a different way to go about this that can fulfill the same needs that I can commit myself to wholeheartedly, right? Or can I let go? Can I, or do I need to find a way, like, I'll just use that. I love using this one because it's always been one of my sort of life meditations is doing the dishes, making doing the dishes a sacred act, right? And so committed to having this clean space for the next meal to be made and to be enjoyed and to be prepared so that the nourishment is complete. And so I commit myself to doing the dishes with joy and using it as like a meditation, so that instead of this half-hearted, oh, I gotta do the dishes, it's like, and having some sort of idea about it, a resentment about it, right? So committing, you know, in each moment, in each, there are days where I approach it from the wrong, from a different perspective, and I have to change it real quick, right? But that's the choice, right? This is, am I going to do this in love? And as we move into the higher frequencies and become more and more committed to following our heart, to following that deep inner guidance and listening to what is a yes and what is a no, and following that, not just noticing it, but actually saying yes to the things that are a yes and no to the things that are no, right? Then we find ourselves more and more becoming much more committed to things that are not only of service to ourselves, but of service to others and service to the community. And so, just like with the other gene keys, as we move into those higher and higher frequencies, that's the case. We start asking the questions, the true questions of our heart, which is, how can I be of the greatest service to the whole? Right. And this gene key is part of the ring of union. And so as that, and so I think we're the last two that we were in. We're also a part of this ring of union. And so really it's ultimately about that devotion and about coming together with all that is, with source, right? And so the devotional energy is I think Richard Rudd says it, and I don't know if this is an exact quote or not, but just he says something like, uh, devotion is commitment gone mad, right? And so it's like fully fully surrendering to the wildness of our heart and saying yes to life in the moment over and over. And we see it in the world that the Siddhi of devotion looks, it can look all kinds of different ways, like a devotion to a guru or a devotion to a cause. But it's this one pointed energy where all of our energy is focused, all of our love is focused in one direction, to God, to whatever, to a cause, to something greater than ourselves. And and for me, I think thinking about moving into those higher frequencies, that that we're doing something very beautiful as we hone our frequencies and we start being able to channel our energies towards what the heart and the soul, the higher self, the being, that we truly are, what it really desires, and that is that unity and that connection. And so it's a beautiful gene key. And so all of that being said, now I want to talk about the Sabian symbols that are associated with this. Now, we're still in Leo for the majority of this week, but then we on the last day of this gene key, we move into the sign of Virgo. So we're still in the fire sign of Leo, ruled by the sun. It wants to shine like the sun. It has that energy of, um, here I am, so we can start, you know, and just, really wanting to be its best self, right? And so this Sabian symbol, the first one is Leo 26, and it is after a storm, a perfect rainbow forms. Okay, so the symbol of a rainbow, right? And so it's a promise. A rainbow is a promise of success, a promise of good outcomes, and it's like following that rainbow energy, following the storm. There is this promise of success, or this promise of the love and the light shining through in all of its colors and all of its forms. And so you can kind of feel how there is this feeling of, you know at least when I look at a rainbow and I see a rainbow, and a lot of times it is when I need that confirmation that the course that I have committed to is the correct one, right? It's sort of like that's how I've seen that symbolism for myself. And so it's a sense of a very real spiritual power and presence, um, that saying yes to all of your efforts and desires, right? That's the rainbow and the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So I think it's a beautiful symbol for this. Then again, let's see, Leo 27. In the east, the light slowly increases, and the dawn the dawn breaks. And so another kind of symbol of this renewal, right? This renewal. We can commit ourselves brand new to this brand new day, realign ourselves with what's important, right? Take that beautiful light coming back after the darkness, and realign ourselves. Find out what we're committed to, find out what we're devoted to. So this is really, this symbol, the Sabian symbol, talks about the like the transformational power of our creativity. Like we kind of have to go into that. We're all constantly going through that cycles of darkness and daylight, and our creativity ebbs and flows and ebbs and flows, and the light shines on us, and then the darkness comes. And so being able to feel that regenerative force of the new day, and utilizing that to recommit ourselves. Then Leo 28. Many small birds perched upon a big tree chirping happily, right? Okay, so this is it's really like the social nature of birds, and the symbolism of the little birds on the tree singing, is another kind of symbol of, we trust. What does the bird do when it wakes up? It sings. It sings its praises to the new day, right? And so it's again this optimism, this trusting in to be guided to what's necessary, through the day, being committed to staying in the present moment so that we can act with wholeheartedly towards whatever is coming our way. And so it really is knowing that we can, through our committed energy, gather our forces together to do what needs to be done, right? To do what the day is requiring of us. I love that symbol. I love them all, but I love that one. Oh, this one too. Okay, so Leo 29, a mermaid is emerges from the waves, prepared to change into human form. Okay, so this is a symbol of, like, well, it's transmutation, turning into something new, emergent evolution, emerging into something completely new, being willing to commit ourselves to a new course of action, right? Being it's really quite a powerful symbol, and the quickening of our inner instincts, of being, and to trust that life's going to provide what we need, as this mermaid moves from being a creature of the water to a creature of the land, right? And so then Leo 30, an unsealed letter full of vital and confidential news. Okay, so the unsealed letter, okay, but it's full of private stuff, full of vital, confidential stuff, but it's unsealed. So you can kind of imagine that this is someone or something that has full confidence in life, full confidence in that they're that they're that they can leave this letter unsealed, and that it won't be disturbed, for one thing, and that the basic goodness of all life, trust trusting in it, and then trusting that the news, that they'll be able to get to the bottom of it. And so it's like giving respect and giving uh, trust to each other and to the universe, that that things are taken care of, that everything's taken care of. I thought that was it's also a really beautiful symbol. Then then we move, that was Leo 30. So then we move to Virgo 1. And Virgo, again, is now we're moving into an earth sign, a mutable earth sign. So we're moving out of the fire sign of Leo into the earth sign, the grounding earth sign of Virgo. And Virgo, some of the key words that I like to use for Virgo are, um, there's responsibility, there is, gosh, sorry, Virgos, commitment, okay, dedication, perfecting, service, um, healing. Um, yeah, so those are, there's a few more that I am not being able to come up with. I'll think of them as I go along here. But Virgo is traditionally ruled by Mercury, and but I was taught, in my mentorship in astrology, that Chiron was also, as it was discovered, became a co-ruler of Virgo, and that makes a lot of sense to me, because it Virgo naturally is the sign of the sixth house, which is the daily health routines and the daily work routines, and how we're of service, right? And Chiron is the wounded healer teacher archetype that is very concerned with our healing and our development of routines that actually work for us, right? And so it's a very, to me, it's Virgo changes its um, flavor as you look at it, ruled by Mercury, the mind, and communication, and those kinds of things, and Chiron, the wounded healer teacher archetype. So it's a very, very grounded energy. Chiron was, the teaching about all of the herbs and all, the uses of all of the plants, and 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 healing methods and so forth. So that's kind of the way I like to look at Virgo, having a Virgo moon myself. It made a lot of sense to me once I looked at it from that perspective. So Virgo 1, the Sabian symbol for Virgo 1, in a portrait, the best of a man's traits are idealized. Okay, so in the picture, they're they're showing off the best aspects of this person. And so it's the shaping power of an idea or an ideal, and in order to bring it into its perfected form, like a very Virgo kind of an idea. And so effective self-assurance, being able, having to more and more clear, ever clear vision of each emerging opportunity and everything, whatever we're going to do next. And that is, to me, like exactly what commitment does. Like true commitment, committing ourselves truly to something gives us clarity, because once the commitment is there, we don't have to think about the future. We don't have to think about uh, what's going to happen at the end. We have to stay in the present moment, fully committed to what is in front of us and what has to happen next, right? The one foot in front of the other. And so and taking this portrait, this idea of this symbol just a little bit farther, it's like seeing ourselves as our as the highest version of ourselves, right? And staying committed to being the highest version of ourselves. And so I thought that was a beautiful one to end this with. And, and what a better thing to be devoted to than to be the highest expression of oneself, like as a piece of the divine, right? Because that's what it ends up being, is devotion to the divine.
Yeah. When you were talking about devotion earlier on in the discussion, that is exactly what came through me. That that is what I am devoted to in this lifetime, being the highest version of myself. And that doesn't mean I think I'm perfect. It means I'm always working hard to move forward to be the highest version of myself. And I'm willing to go through those hard things, difficult situations, and needing to change my own paradigms or beliefs in order to move forward towards the highest version of myself.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And it requires that kind of, it requires a, it requires that kind of commitment and recommitment. And it also requires that flexibility that you're talking about, like being fluid enough, being flexible enough to move through the hard times and to change our perspective when we find out that it's incorrect, because that'll happen, right? We'll be, oh, that's not a helpful way to look at this at all, and we have to change it up and really dig deep to find that. One of the things that I also thought about in this is in reading the Gene Keys book, on this one, that first of all, the title of the chapter is called "Leaping into the Void." Okay, and so it really is about trusting in life and being committed to staying present in each moment, so that you have the clarity, so that you have the ability to feel what your heart says yes to and what it says no to, and then the courage to be able to go ahead and follow that, right? You know, because sometimes it's going to go against what other people think. And that, where I started to go with this was talking about relationships. Like he really talks about, from Richard Rudd's perspective, that we should, not a should so much as like a really powerful thing to do would be to stay in relationships. Like there's, and he says, of course, if there's a physically abusive relationship, you don't stay. You can't stay. You have to commit to something different, but to see where you're half-hearted in our relationships, in our intimate relationships, with our partners, if we have partners, or our friendships and or even our work relationships, or whatever they are, and see where we're half-hearted, where we're tuning them out, or where we are dismissing rather than staying present, because when we do that over the long term, and the relationship may have a natural ending point, but if it does, you're going to know it and it's going to happen amiably because both people will know, right? And they'll be clear on that. And I thought that was really, it's really a quite a powerful thing, and it really has helped me in many of my relationships. It's like when the going gets tough, the half-hearted fall off the bandwagon, right? They quit.
Right. And I think that since we're talking about relationships and commitment, it really ties in to our previous video about the healing power of forgiveness. And I'll put a link right here. And I mean, it takes incredible commitment to dive into the power of forgiveness. It really does. But it totally shifts. It totally shifts relationships.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and it really is the same courage is needed, right? To be able to to be able to do that and to choose that, to choose it, because you may not get there instantaneously, but if you keep choosing it, keep choosing to allow the space for forgiveness to happen, it will flower. It will unfold. And you'll know it when it happens because the whatever energy was there will be gone. It doesn't erase, like I'm talking, going back to talking about forgiveness for a moment. It doesn't erase, it doesn't make whatever happened not have happened or excuse it or anything like that. It just takes away the the negative charge and unburdens yourself and the other person from, or the other, the situation, from that energetic charge. And what a beautiful thing. And yeah, you're right, they're very flowing and very connected, just like all the Sabian symbols. When you look at them, if you were to go through every single one in order, it's just a beautiful story unfolds, right?
Yeah,
And same thing with the gene keys as well.
yeah, it certainly does. And Margaret, do you feel like contemplating life or contemplating your situations in life and your relationships is a way in to seeing, what we're devoted to, what we're committed to, what we're doing half-heartedly, and then that's sort of the first step in being able to start to shift into
Uh,
our higher selves.
yeah, absolutely. I think that taking those inventories is really, really important. And what a powerful thing to do is to take an inventory. I mean, what if you just took 2 minutes when you woke up in the morning and had already made a list of your commitments, the ones that you're really committed to, or the one that you're devoted to, or whatever it is, right? And started from that place. And then, yeah, reevaluate it and see, okay, where am I being half-hearted? And what is, and then asking those questions. Why am I being half-hearted? What am I afraid of here? Am I afraid of success or failure, or commitment, or am I afraid to give myself to this, or is it just really not that important? Was I making it important because somebody told me it was important, or is it important because it actually really is important to me?
Right. And that ties us right back to what we said at the beginning. Say yes to life through the guidance, your own inner guidance, right?
Yeah.
Your heart. Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Let's leave it there. That's a good one.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you, Margaret, for bringing through your insights and your wisdom for this week.
You're so welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. And if this video has helped you, please hit that thumbs up to like it and subscribe for more content. And we're so excited to hear what you have to say in the comments. Thank you.
Thank you.